Hello!
Hello AOS fans!
It's the Agents of Sigmar.
And in this video I'm playing Voidcursed Godsworn Hunt.
And I'm playing Arenai, Tooth and Claw.
It was very kind of you to play Arenai, Tooth and Claw.
I kind of felt like you were experimenting with the deck, so I thought, I'm not going to take
Rippers.
Yeah, it was something really horrible, so I thought, I'll take something that I thought might be a bit more equally banded.
So yeah, I reckon the Godsworn Hunt could give them a run for the money. I think Godsworn Hunt are a reasonable choice for the Voidcursed, mainly because they immediately get one shield once they're Voidcursed, whereas nearly always all of them are one dodge all the time. And because they're rubbish, so the Voidcursed bit can't make them any worse.
No.
They do have a ranged attack, poor old Wyrdhollow, I think it is.
And Jaggerthra.
But
she only gets one shot.
She only gets one shot,
so
one shot.
Charge with her first, and then she can be Voidcursed.
Poor old Wyrdhollow, once he's Voidcursed, can't attack at all, ever. But hopefully there's a weapon upgrade or two in the deck to give him a chance.
Yeah, now the Arenai, they can be very dice heavy. Very, very dice dependent, especially with Tooth and Claw. So hopefully the Tooth and Claw make them more accurate, but if those dice don't play ball for me, then it could be a very sorry turnout indeed.
Yeah, and those dice are cubed, so they probably won't play ball.
So at the start of the game, Robin wins the roll and decides to place the boards first, and you offset them.
I offset them, I've no idea why. I kind of felt like everybody did that at the tournament, so I needed to try and do it.
I've got to do what all the cool kids are doing. But then you left it there going, I don't know why I'm doing this.
I don't know why I do. I think it's because my warband's quite fast too. My warband are quite fast. I don't really want you right up in my block hole if I can avoid it, so I kind of offset you a little bit.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I placed the objectives, and on the second roll, I won, and I elected to make you go first.
Ooh, which I liked.
Yeah, well, I liked it too, because it meant you were probably going to come towards me, which meant I had more people in range to stab. I redrew my objectives to start with because the ones I had initially were all end phase cards, so I needed some surges in there. I did get one in my second pick, which was Ritual Performance, which I score after an attack if I have a critical hit or if I do precisely enough damage to take you out. I figured that one's probably going to be fairly easy to achieve considering all your fighters like 2 wounds or something. Yeah. Now, I then also had Exalting Violence, which I score in end phase if 2 or more surviving friendly fighters are inspired. Maybe I can pull that one off. And Move or Die, which is all of my surviving friendly fighters have to have move or charge tokens, which, depending on if you kill any, I might be able to score that one. Of my power cards, I have 3 upgrades and 2 regular power cards. I've got Paragon of the Arena, which is a fantastic upgrade, which gives me, I can give it to a fighter, and I can then choose to give them a guard token, give them a dice, or give them a damage on their attack before I do anything. It's a very nice card. Devotee of the Blade, which gives them a defense characteristic of shield instead of dodge, but still 2 dice. Also, their range 1 and 2 attack actions have cleave, which is good because you'll be getting shields as your Voidcursed. Gory Reward is one of my power cards, which is I can play after a friendly fighter's attack action succeeds. If 1 or more of my warband's flourish gambits are persisting during that action, I can gain 1 spent glory point. Now, the problem is I don't have any flourishes in this hand, and that was a problem for me. I also have the Piercing Strike upgrade, which is a attack which keys off of combo, which all my fighters have, which gives me just an extra attack in. And the last card is Unquenchable Fervour, which is a power card which effectively reduces the next time I take damage by 2.
Oh, that's a good card.
You've got to do 4 damage then to one-shot one of my fighters, and it stays in play until you do damage. So it's not like it's just the next attack or anything like that.
It's a good card. So I dumped all my objectives too, mainly because I drew my endgame card, which is the one where all fighters avoid for 4 glory. I definitely didn't want to be carrying that all the way through the game. No. And it worked out pretty well for me, that switch, because I ended up with 2 Surge cards. Surrendered Will. Score this immediately after an opponent's activation step if 1 or more enemy fighters are Voidcursed. And Perfect Thrall, so dual cards. Score this immediately after an activation step if a friendly Voidcursed fighter is holding an objective and that fighter made 1 or more successful attack actions in that activation step. Can be scoreable, slightly tricky without inspiration, but we'll see. And the finally got Glory or Damnation. Score this in end phase if a surviving friendly fighter has 3 or more upgrades. I'm definitely not going to be scoring that this turn round, especially as I've only got 1 upgrade.
It will make it much more difficult.
Yeah, I've got Chaos Boon in my hand, which is quite a nice card. -1 wounds to a minimum of 1, and they get their range 1 or 2 attack actions get +1 damage. Pretty good card.
Nice.
And I've got lots of lovely ploys. Now, I probably considered swapping these out because I need upgrades for inspiration, but actually at the end of the day, these are some nice ploys, so I kept hold of them. Got Reshaping Snare, choose a fighter on an objective or on a snare hex, and they're Voidcursed. Involuntary Advance, choose a Voidcursed fighter, push the chosen fighter up 1 hex. Reshaping Demise, use this during an enemy's fighter's attack action. After the deal damage step, if the target would be taken out of action, each fighter adjacent to the target is Voidcursed. So I'm going to be trying to Voidcurse you as fast as I possibly can.
Yep.
So that's a handy card. Reshaping Burst, choose a Voidcursed fighter, roll a magic dice, and every fighter within 2 hexes of the chosen fighter on a roll a swirly, or a focus as it's called, they are void cursed. So
Definitely
again, going to be piling on as much void cursing as I possibly can. And before I do anything, I need to void curse a fighter as per my plot card, and I've void cursed Shond. It's quite hard to say void cursed.
It is. It's a very difficult word, and we're going to mispronounce that.
When you say void cursed Shond, it's even harder.
Yeah, we're going to mispronounce that one a lot, and we're not going to re-record every time we get that wrong, so you're just going to have to put up with it. For my first activation, decided to draw a power card. I was fishing for one of my flourishes so that hopefully I'd be able to use my other power card, but my fishing for flourishing did not work, and I drew Dark Command, which isn't a bad card, but it's not the one I wanted.
Pete very kindly let me swap Jagathra with Shond because I managed to get her muddled up who I wanted where. So then for my first activation, the newly moved Jagathra is thrown straight into the fray, and she charges with her javelin so that I don't have to worry about void cursing her later on. And I throw that at Traxia. I get 1 sword.
I get 1 shield.
So no damage there, but I do push you back onto the objective.
I wonder why.
Well, it's Pete. It's so I can play Reshaping Snare to make her a void cursed.
Oh, I'd say at this point that I better play Unquenchable Fervour because I forgot to do it the first time round to reduce any damage I take next by 2.
And then I play Reshaping Burst to try and void curse a few more of my fighters. I choose Shond because he's got lots of fighters within 2 hexes of him, but unfortunately I didn't roll any swirlies. And so nobody is extra void curse, so that card has gone to waste.
For my second activation, I charge with Retaria at Jagathra, and I get a crit and success, which you can't stop.
No, so that flattens Jagathra out of the blocks. Jagathra has done her usual thing, except she didn't actually hit this time.
No. So that's 1-0 to me already. I then also score Ritual Performance because not only was it a critical attack, but I also did 2 damage, which is enough to score me both ways, but I only get 1 glory, so it's now 2-0.
But I managed to score Surrendered Will, making it 2-1, and I drew into Uncounted Cost.
And I drew into Warrior Faithful. I then put the Paragon of the Arena onto Griselle because she's nasty anyway, and that's an even nastier card for her.
So I don't want to throw any more fighters into the grinder just yet, so I just draw a power card for my activation 2, and I draw Surging Power.
I then put the Piercing Strike onto Calexis, the Silver Blur, to give her a little combo attack there. For my third activation, I then charge with Calexis at Gruul and completely miss.
Return to form.
Yes. So I then use my Piercing Strike attack and completely miss.
A return to form.
Yes.
My third activation, I don't actually do much better. I try and bite back with Gruul. I get 1 sword.
Oh, but I crit it.
Ba-bang.
Yeah, so I'm not getting the crits on the attacks when I want them sometimes, but I'm getting them on the defences.
Yeah, so a pretty rubbish activation 3.
Yes. For my fourth activation, I then charge with Traxia, and I get a hammer and a single assist.
I just get a dodge, but the dog only takes 1 damage.
Yeah, sadly I'm only doing 1 damage on that one. I then play Dark Commands and kill him. 3-1 to me.
But in preparation for turn 4, I put Surging Power onto Grunden and inspire him. I then immediately charge with him into Traxia, hoping to get 4 damage. I only get 1 hammer.
I also failed to get anything, so she does take 3 damage from that attack, but the Unquenchable further reduces it to 1, so she's not dead.
But I do push her back, and then I play Involuntary Advance and push Grunden onto the objective.
Oh, sneaky. So the score's 3-1. I've scored nothing in the first end phase, unfortunately, and I get rid of all of my objectives because they're all 1 glory end phase cards, which you do not want that in your hand.
No, definitely not.
I get rid of Exalting Violence, Move or Die, and Warrior Faithful. I would then put Devotee of the Blade on 3 Arla. And I keep my last card, so I draw up 3 new objectives and 4 power cards.
You're lucky, really, because Godsworn Hunt are as rubbish as you are.
Really?
So I didn't score anything either, so the score remains 3-1. I got rid of Glory and Damnation, and I kept the rest of my cards, so I just drew 1 objective and 3 power cards.
Glory and Damnation. Yeah.
So from my round 2 cards, I've still got 2 surge cards in my hand, which is quite handy. I've got Involuntary Interdiction. Score this immediately after a Voidcursed fighter's attack action takes the target out of action. I'm really hoping that I can have some sort of Grundon missile or something and score that. Uncounted costs, score this in an end phase if 4 or more fighters are out of action and 2 or more of those fighters are Voidcursed. Well, a lot of fighters are going down in this game.
Four fighters is going to be easy enough, but 2 Voidcursed might be the sticking point.
Yeah, but I will have 2 Voidcursed in a minute.
This is true.
Perfect Thrall is score this immediately after an activation step if a friendly Voidcursed fighter is holding an objective. Had that one in the last turn actually, didn't I? And the fighter made 1 or more successful attack actions in that activation step. So Grundon is on an objective. So
he is ready and primed for that
somebody can score that. Power card wise, I've now got a few more upgrades for the inspiration. Refashion priorities is an upgrade, but it gives me a reaction after another fighter's move action or attack action. If that fighter is not adjacent to this fighter, then I can make a move action that must end on a feature token. The reaction cannot be used more than once per round.
I helped you with that objective.
Yeah, also very useful. A reshaping demise is a ploy. Use this during an enemy fighter's attack action after the deal damage step. If the target would be taken out of action, each fighter adjacent to the target is Voidcursed. Carrying that since last turn. Still carrying Chaos Boon. Force movements basically enables me to move a Voidcursed fighter. And singular reshaping is another upgrade, but it's not one for me.
Oh, it's the one you give me.
It's one I can give to you and make you Voidcursed. You'll be getting that any minute now.
For me, I still only have 1 surge card in hand after getting rid of all 3 and picking 3 new ones, and that is Lethal Spectacles. It's a surge dual card. I score immediately after a friendly fighter's attack if the attack action took the target out of action, and 1 or more of my warbands as Flourish Gambits for persisting, so hopefully I can get some Flourish Gambits out to be able to score that one. I also have the Harcuron Hurricane, which I score in an end phase if 3 or more friendly fighters are in enemy territory, or each surviving friendly fighter is inspired. Well, I don't rate my chance to get the second one, but maybe the first one might be doable. And the last one is a 3 glory end phase in Praise of Cain, which I score in an end phase if each surviving fighter has 1 or more charge tokens and or 1 or more wound counters.
Well, it's a good matchup for scoring that.
Yeah.
Lots of people are going to die and lots of people are going to charge.
Yes, but I don't want, they've either got to all have wound counters or charge counters. I don't want to kill you, or at least I want to kill the ones that haven't charged. I do have 5 power cards in my hand though, which is very helpful. Determined Brutality to enable me to either pick Cleave or Ensnare for an attack. Gory Reward, which I can play after a friendly fighter's attack action that succeeds if 1 or more of my warband's Flourish Gambits were persisting during that action. Gain 1 spent glory point. Fatal Flourish, so finally I've got a Flourish here, which is the one which gives me +1 damage to my attacks, but I get 1 damage. I take a damage if I fail the attack. Fitting Flourish, which means all my fighters' range 1 attack actions do not have combo anymore, but all of my range 1 attack actions have Scything, which is potentially very handy. There's a lot of bodies around.
And a lot of fairly weak defensive bodies as well.
Exactly. And Moment of Rapture, which I can play after a friendly fighter's attack action that succeeded. I can pick one. I can either heal 2 to that fighter or inspire that fighter. So that might be handy with inspiring people or just keeping someone from being dead. But as all my fighters only have 2 wounds, the healing part's not so useful. So at the beginning of the second round,
I rolled a crit and a double.
I get a crit and a single, but I do let you go first.
Is that going to be a costly mistake? I Voidcursed Federer. Activation 1, stick with the plan, attack Traxia with Grundon, crit hammer.
Oh, that's a
4 damage attack.
I failed to get a crit to do any damage back because that's all I was hoping for, because I couldn't get a crit success off of that one. So she did.
Yeah, and so that goes to 3-2. And then I do some scoring.
You do.
I score Perfect Thrall to make it 3-all, and then Involuntary Interdiction to make it 3-4. I draw into Tipping Point and Reshaped Realm. I then immediately play Singular Reshaping.
I then decide to put that onto Calexis the Silvered Blur.
So she is now Voidcursed.
I then play a Fatal Flourish.
And I play Force Movements and just tuck Grundon out of the way.
Let's get away a little bit. I then play Determined Brutality to gain Ensnare. For my first activation, I charge with Calexis the Silver Blur and target Ollo. He's the only one left rolling dodges now, as it turns out. Everybody else is already Voidcursed on your side who's still alive. I get a crit and a sword, which means I can roll 2 more dice. I failed to get any more successes though. I get 2 single assists on that one, but I did roll 4 dice, which means she is inspired. The crit success means that Ollo is dead. making it 4 all. I then also play Gory Reward at this point as a reaction, opting not to make her secondary combo attack onto Shond instead to gain that spent glory point because a flourish was in effect. So that now puts the score up to 5-4 to me. I then also score Lethal Spectacles because that flourish was in play, making it 6-4. And I draw into Paragon of Ferocity.
However, I now score Tipping Point, as there are now more Voidcursed fighters than not Voidcursed fighters.
Curses.
Taking it to 6-5. And then I draw in Unceasing Imperatives.
My Fatal Flourish then goes away at the end of all of that. 2 action-packed first actions there.
Very exciting.
It was very exciting.
So I play Chaos Boom onto Shond. So he's now inspired. And I immediately attack Calexis with Shond. And I get sword crit.
I only have 1 defense because she's Voidcursed, so she's dead again.
6-6.
I then charge Shond with Retaria. I've got 2 hammers, and if that lands, it will kill him, but I completely miss.
Again.
It's
the story of this channel. Shond charges Retaria. I roll 3 dice, but I just get 1 sword.
I managed to roll a dodge, and Retaria lives.
And I don't push her back.
I then charge with Thriala at Shond.
Thriala!
Unfortunately, out of all the dice, I only roll 1 single assist, but I do have Cleave.
I don't get a crit, so I take a damage.
I then push Shond back out of the way as well, just to stop those attacks back.
Fair enough. I then put Reshaping Priorities onto Thedra. So that would inspire her, and I then charge with her, target Retaria. I get 1 hammer.
I get a dodge and survive.
And I do push Retaria back this time.
My 4th go, I then just move up Grizel because there's nobody close enough for me to charge with her, and she's way out of the way. Possibly a mistake on my part not getting her up round 1.
In the end phase, I've got to have quite a good end phase. I score Unceasing Imperative to make it 7-6, and then Uncounted Cost to take it up to 9-6.
Ouch. That was a very painful round for me.
I keep my last 2 cards and draw 2 objectives and 4 power cards.
Sadly, I scored nothing again. Had I kept all of my cards from the previous round, I would have scored them all. So lessons learned there, probably not though. I choose to keep all of my objectives from this round, possibly a mistake, but we'll find out.
And I guess what's going to happen, viewers.
Yeah. And I discard Moment of Rapture because the chance of a fighter needing 2 wounds restored and not being dead is quite slim at this stage. I keep my last power card, so I just draw up 4 power cards.
So going into round 3, I've got a pretty good hand actually. So I've got 1 Surge card, Lashed into Motion, score this immediately after a 3rd or subsequent move action made by friendly Voidcursed fighters in the same phase. If I can keep them alive...
You've got a lot of move shenanigans, so that might be alright.
I can score that. I've got Unwitting Guardian, score this in end phase if 1 or more friendly Voidcursed fighters are on feature tokens. Just going to have to see how that goes. But I have got Reshaped Realm. Score this in end phase if each surviving fighter is Voidcursed. So that has got to be the plan.
So jammy.
To try and score that. To help me on my way, I've got Enervating Form, which basically means if you attack me, then I can give you a charge token.
I mean, if I'm charging, it's not going to make too much difference, but that could be quite nasty.
Yep. Voidcursed Assault. Each friendly Voidcursed fighter makes the following attack action. As a ploy. It's really sneaky and nasty.
Yes.
Basically, it's a 2 hammer, 1 damage attack.
Yeah, I mean, what are the chances of that coming off a lot, though?
We'll have to wait and see.
Find out.
If the attack action succeeds, also the Toyget is Voidcursed.
It's Voidcursed, yeah.
Sentinel Imperative is a domain. Rolls of dodges are successes in Voidcursed fighters' defense rolls. I'm not sure I want to play this because I'm trying to get you all Voidcursed, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because that's all fighters, not just friendly fighters.
Exactly, and it persists until the end of the round or until another domain gambit is played. I've got another upgrade, Refashioned Reactions. Use this after another fighter's move action or attack action if that fighter is not adjacent to this fighter. This fighter makes 1 move action that must end adjacent to 1 or more fighters. This reaction cannot be used more than once per round. So it's like I've got a similar card already.
It's all going to add up to your adding your movements up.
Reshaping Demise. I think I've carried this since the beginning, but basically I can Voidcurse fighters if you kill me, adjacent fighters.
So I still have 2 of the objectives from before, which is Harcure on Hurricane, which is 3 or more friendly fighters in enemy territory, or each surviving friendly fighter is inspired. That might be doable if I've got 1 fighter left alive, because all of my fighters are inspired at the beginning of round 3. And I also have In Praise of Cain, which I score in the end phase if each surviving fighter has 1 or more charge tokens or 1 or more move counters.
Getting more likely.
Yeah. And I also have Paragon of Frosty, which is a surge card. Score immediately after a savage friendly fighter's attack action if it takes the target out of action if the friendly fighter was in enemy territory or the target was an enemy leader. I mean, both those might be options coming up. For my power cards, I have Blood Sigil, which is a nice -1 damage to all damage taken card, which is definitely going to be going on Grizel. Spinning Flourish, which again, that's the flourish from before, which gives everybody Scything, but removes their combo. Paean of Slaughter, which enables me to reroll one of my dice in my next attack roll. Pretty basic card there. Stubborn to the Bone, which an enemy warband cannot push this fighter, and in addition, when they are savage, I can reroll 1 dice in their defense roll. Well, if I've only got 1 dice, all the rerolls will help. And Feral Alteration, which I can't put on a large fighter, which is pretty much anybody who's not my boss will be fine. They become a beast, so they get +1 move and +1 wounds, and they also get knockback 1. So at the beginning of round 3, I get a crit and a single.
I just get 2 doubles, so it's down to you, Pete.
I do elect to go first. At this point, I think I immediately make a mistake and I don't charge with Grizel. I attack with Retaria instead to try and take out Shond. I think it's because I thought I could do that without having to make a charge move.
Yeah, I guess you didn't want to leave Grizel there.
Yeah, but possibly Grizel would have been a better fighter to charge with because she's got much more going on for her. She's got a much more guaranteed kill. So, but there we are. It's the way it goes. I roll 2 dice, but I failed to get a single success.
But you remembered you had another dice.
I've got another dice, and I rolled that, and I also failed to get any successes. So 3 dice, no successes on that
I feel
roll.
like I've read this story before.
Yeah, it's getting a bit repetitive. Just to be careful, I put Blood Sigil on Grizel to reduce incoming damage by 1, and Feral Alteration onto 3 Arla to take her up to 3 wounds.
So I charge in with Grundon to target Grizel for my first activation, and then I use Thedra's Reshaping Priorities to move her up to support.
Oh dear.
And good job I did that, because I only managed to get a single assist.
And I managed to get nothing on 2 dice, and I needed dodges as well, which means I take 2 damage total.
I then play my Voidcursed Assault card, enabling all my Voidcursed to make a 2-hammer 1 damage attack.
Bearing in mind at this point, Grizel only has 2 wounds left, and her Blood Sigil will not reduce the damage because it's 1 damage a pop.
So Grundon starts the ball rolling, and he gets a crit success.
I don't manage to get any saves, or at least not a crit save that I would have needed, and I take 1 damage, and I'm now Voidcursed as well.
So it reduces your...
I'm only rolling 1 dice now.
Yeah. Then I attack with Thedra, and I get another 2 hammers.
I failed to get the crit I need, and Grizel dies. Takes the score to 10-6 now.
6, yeah. I have another go with Shond because he's adjacent to somebody, but I miss.
Yes, I think at this point it is game over for me. Grizel was my heavy hitter, and she is dead, so I don't rate my chances of clawing it back at this point. I can't believe you made both of those attacks as well as the other attack as well. I was just so annoyed.
With my newfound cache of money, I put Enervating Form on Thedra, and then I play Sentinel Imperative to give dodges as successes.
Yeah, could have done with that a minute ago. I then put my Spinning Flourish into play. For my second activation, I charge with 3 Arla because I can attack both Grundon and Thedra at this point. I target Grundon to start with the whip attack. I get a crit.
So I can't stop with 1 defense.
Yes, because you are trapped, so you take 2 damage.
Yeah.
Then, at this point, strangely enough, my Bladed Buckler combo attack can be a Scything attack because it's range 1. So I make the first Scything Bladed Buckler attack against Thedra, and I get a hammer.
I get nothing, so she takes 1 damage and is pushed back. Though, actually, we shouldn't have pushed her back because she's Voidcursed, so they can't be pushed back.
Yes, now I thought about that at the start, because I was targeting her to push her away so that you wouldn't get a success on your, or a single assist on your defense roll. Had I done it the other way around, I would have targeted Grundon first. He would be dead right now. But because I did do it that way around, I then target Grundon second, and I failed to hit completely. So I could have done with targeting him first. At least I would have killed somebody.
I then put refashioned reaction onto Grundon. And so for my second activation, I move Thedra and then use Grundon's upgrade to move him next to her. That scores me lashed into motion to make it 11-6.
Yeah, because you moved 4 fighters. I think you made 4 actions.
And I drew a mystery card.
Yes, we didn't show that one off.
Yeah.
For my third go, Retaria attacks Shond again, as everybody else has already charged, and I get a crit.
But sadly, so do I.
So all my hopes of any more glory die a death.
I attack back, and just to add insult to injury, I get a double crit.
I failed to get any crits at all, so Retaria also bites the dust, making it 12-6. For my fourth activation, I decide to drop Paragon of Frosty because I'm never going to score that one, and I get toyed with. Oh, good.
I charge with Shond onto the objective and I roll crit sword. Suddenly I found a box of crits.
I do get a crit, which I didn't actually want this time, because I was hoping for a dodge. It would have reduced the damage by 1, and Thriala would have only then taken 2 wounds and would have survived. But as I got that crit when I didn't need it, she takes 3 wounds and dies.
So that's 13-6.
Yeah, 13-6 all at the end there. So on to the end round scoring. I score in Praise of Cain as all of Robin's fighters have charge or wound counters at this point, taking up to 13-9.
But I do score a reshape round because everybody is Voidcursed, which is a whopping 4 glory. To make it 17-9, and then I also score Unwitting Guardians because Sean is sitting on that objective to make it 18-9.
At the end there, I think the slew of crits that you've got and the slew of terrible dice from me completely destroyed any hopes I had, but I do think I made a mistake by not getting Crusade stuck in earlier. She might have died just the same, but also I could have probably charged with her to take out Thedra. I would have had more chances to take out Thedra as well.
Thedra killed you.
Yes, exactly. So
yeah,
there we go. I think the fact that you used your ploy to make all those extra little attacks so jammy that you succeeded in all of them.
Well,
and
I know
took Crusade
Sean
out.
Is, to be fair.
Oh yeah, I mean that really
I'm not sure what the odds are on hitting with 2 hammers attacks against, because you're only on one.
I was on 2 dodges for the first attack because I was only
missed, So actually, I really shouldn't have scored that.
Very, very annoyed. It was a very clutch moment, but I mean, it turned it around, and it was interesting to see at the end that the Godsworn hunt actually did all right. I mean, you scored 18 glory. That's not bad.
I have to say, I was really pleased with that because I didn't think they'd do that well, and I think it's a freak. Partly because you didn't choose a very strong warband, and also partly because I rolled hot and the cards came out in the right order, all that kind of stuff. I
mean, I have played that deck. I think I played against John, and I mean, he did well on the scoring as well, but in that game when I used it, everything came out when I needed it to. So like my first charge, I killed someone, I scored about 4 glory, things just worked. But if you don't get things coming out the way you need, or the dice just decide that they're not going to help you, it can all just go to pot, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with when the dice decide to give you the finger that you're just going to have to accept that you're going to lose. It's just the way it is.
They're definite glass cannon, aren't they?
They definitely are. Both warbands are very glass.
I quite like that with the Godsworn. It's kind of like, oh, I'm just going to charge.
Just charge. If I die, I die.
Hope the best. I like the fact that the Voidcursed gives them an extra little shield. And they've got some good cards, and that 4 glory everybody Voidcursed card is that's hard to stop.
Yeah, I'm thinking of trying the Voidcursed deck out with the Sepulchral Guard because they only roll dodges or shields anyway, and it also stops them from being driven back. And they want to stand on objectives as well.
Could
so
be interesting.
I'm
thinking of trying it with Reavers. Because basically the Reavers are very like Godsworn Hunt, but I'm trying with Reavers.
Yeah, I think Reavers would be good with them. That's another one I was considering trying. So I think I might have tried Sepulchral Guard first, and then go from there.
Voidcursed Sepulchral Guard. I mean, the Walking Dead that have been cursed into the void doesn't get much more unlucky.
I mean, how much worse can it get, really, to be honest? I mean, they're probably sitting at that point going, really? What else is going to go wrong?
Yeah. Imagine the Godsworn Hunt must be feeling pretty much the same. Well, we haven't got any gods.
Yeah.
Now we're Voidcursed.
Doesn't get any worse.
But they got lucky tonight.
They do. So there you go, 18-9. Pretty impressive score. The dice helped a little bit, but I think they're just very good cards for them.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try again.
Don't forget to like, subscribe and ring that bell, and do leave some comments below about how you found this battle report style. We are trying to do more of our battle reports like to keep them short and sweet.
In the meantime, you could consider supporting us on Patreon so we can make even more of these lovely videos, and over there you get a lot of our straight to Patreon uncut video reports. Haven't done one for a while, but there will be some more coming up soon.
Yeah, and we are going to be running a Nemesis tournament in September 23rd and 24th. Do keep an eye out for more announcements on that. And if you are a Patreon, you will get a discount on the tickets. Woo! So we'll see you soon in the Wyrdhollow. Bye!